I used to work every day.
Meanwhile, he labels her a chronic cheater, and the tension hits the ceiling. When the baby was born, everyone in the delivery room went quiet. The mother was white, the father was black. But the baby in the doctor's hands had features that belonged to neither of them. Almond-shaped eyes, straight black hair, a face that looked unmistakably Asian. And in that moment, before anyone said a word, a family started to fall apart. For years, Lauren Lake has presided over moments families fear and need the most. Calm presence, firm voice. In her courtroom, truth doesn't entertain, it decides. And today, biology would reveal something so shocking that even science struggled to explain it. A child who didn't match either parent, and a secret that had been hiding in plain sight. The courtroom felt heavy. On one side sat Sarah Mitchell, white woman, blonde hair, blue eyes, hands folded on the table. On the other side sat Marcus Henderson, black man, dark skin, strong features, arms crossed. And between them, on the judge's desk, a DNA test that would answer a question no one wanted to ask. Because the answer was already written on a 3-year-old boy's face. The judge looked at Marcus. "Mr. Henderson, you've petitioned this court for a DNA test regarding your 3-year-old son, Ethan. You and Miss Mitchell have been together for 5 years. You were present at Ethan's birth. You're listed on the birth certificate as his father, but you're now questioning that. Can you tell this court why?" Marcus's voice was controlled, flat. "Because when my son was born, he didn't look like me, and he didn't look like Sarah either." "Can you elaborate?" "Ethan has Asian features, his eyes, his hair texture, the shape of his face. Sarah and I are white and black. There's no Asian ancestry in either of our families, none." The courtroom stirred. People leaned forward. "When did you first notice these features?" the judge asked. "The day he was born. Everyone in the delivery room saw it. The nurses, the doctor. My mother looked at him and didn't say anything. She just looked at Sarah, and Sarah wouldn't look back." The judge turned to Sarah. "Miss Mitchell, is what Mr. Henderson just described accurate?" Sarah's voice was quiet. "Yes." "And what was your explanation at the time?" "I said genetics were unpredictable, that maybe there was distant ancestry we didn't know about. I said a lot of things. Were any of them true?" Sarah didn't answer right away. Then, "No." The courtroom went completely still. Marcus's hands gripped the edge of the table. His jaw was locked. But he didn't speak. The judge leaned forward. "Miss Mitchell, I'm going to ask you a direct question. Is there a possibility that someone other than Mr. Henderson is Ethan's biological father?" Sarah closed her eyes. "Yes." "And does that person have Asian ancestry?" "Yes." Marcus stood up. Not to leave, just to move, like his body couldn't stay still anymore. He turned his back to the room for a moment, then sat back down. "Miss Mitchell," the judge continued, "who is this person?" "His name is David Nguyen. He was a colleague. We worked together. And you had a relationship with him." "Briefly, while Marcus and I were having problems." "How long did the relationship last?" "About 6 weeks." "And were you intimate with both men during the same time period?" Sarah's voice cracked. "Yes." "Did you use protection with Mr. Nguyen?" "Not every time." "Did you tell Mr. Henderson about this relationship?" "No." "Why not?" Sarah looked at Marcus. "He wouldn't look back. Because we got back together, and I wanted it to work. And I thought if I just didn't think about David, it would go away." "But you got pregnant." "Yes." "And when you found out, did you know who the father might be?" "I thought it was Marcus. I wanted it to be Marcus." "That's not what I asked." Sarah's hands were shaking now. "I knew it could be David, but I didn't want to know for sure, so I didn't ask. I just moved forward." The judge turned to Marcus. "Mr. Henderson, when did you first start questioning Ethan's paternity?" Marcus's voice was hard. "When he was born and I saw his face, but I convinced myself I was being paranoid. I told myself Sarah was right, that genetics were strange, that it didn't matter what he looked like." He stopped, but then he got older, and the features got stronger, and people started asking questions. What kind of questions? Strangers would ask if he was adopted. Family members would make comments. One time, someone asked Sarah if she'd been with an Asian man. He looked at Sarah, and she laughed it off, like it was the most ridiculous thing anyone had ever said. Sarah was crying now. Silently, "Mr. Henderson, what made you finally decide to request this test?" Marcus took a breath. 3 months ago, I was at the park with Ethan. Another kid came up to play, Asian kid, and the father came over and said they could be brothers. And I looked at that kid, and I looked at my son, and they looked more alike than Ethan and I ever had." He paused. "That's when I knew. That's when I couldn't pretend anymore." The judge spoke carefully. "Miss Mitchell, did Mr. Nguyen know you were pregnant?" "No." "Why not?" "Because I cut off all contact when Marcus and I got back together. I blocked his number. I didn't respond to emails. I just disappeared. Did you ever consider that he might have a right to know? I convinced myself it wasn't his. That if I just believed it hard enough, it would be true. The judge shook her head slowly. Biology doesn't work that way. I know that now. Mr. Nguyen was contacted by this court. He's here today. The judge gestured to the back row. A man stood, Asian, mid-30s, nervous. He looked at Sarah. She looked down. Mr. Nguyen, please come forward. David walked to the front of the courtroom. He sat down in the respondent chair. Didn't look at Marcus. Didn't look at Sarah. Just stared straight ahead. Mr. Nguyen, the judge said, you had a relationship with Miss Mitchell approximately 4 years ago. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor. How long did that relationship last? About a month and a half. Then she stopped answering my calls. Did she tell you why? No, she just vanished. And what did you think happened? David's voice was quiet. I thought she got back together with her ex. I heard she was getting married. I figured she moved on. When this court contacted you about a possible paternity case, what was your reaction? David finally looked at Sarah. I was shocked. I had no idea she'd had a baby. If you had known, what would you have done? I would have wanted to be involved. I would have wanted to know my child. Marcus made a sound, low, barely audible, like a man swallowing a scream. The judge looked at Sarah. Miss Mitchell, Mr. Nguyen just said he would have wanted to be involved. You took that choice away from him. I know. You also took the choice away from Mr. Henderson. To know the truth from the beginning. I know. And you took it away from Ethan. To know his real father. Sarah's voice was barely there. I know. Why? The judge asked. Not angry, just genuinely asking. Why did you make these choices? Sarah looked up. Her face was red, tears streaming. Because I was scared. Because I didn't want to lose Marcus. Because I thought if I could just control the story, I could control the outcome. She stopped. But you can't control biology. You can't wish away the truth. The judge picked up the envelope. We conducted DNA tests on Ethan Mitchell, Marcus Henderson, and David Nguyen. These results will tell us who Ethan's biological father is. She opened it. Read it silently. Then looked up. In the matter of Ethan Mitchell regarding paternity, she paused. Looked at Marcus. Mr. Marcus Henderson, according to these DNA results, you are excluded as the biological father. Marcus closed his eyes. His head dropped back. He stared at the ceiling. Sarah sobbed into her hands. The judge continued. Mr. David Nguyen, according to these DNA results, you are the biological father of Ethan Mitchell. David's face went pale. He put both hands on the table to steady himself. Oh my God, Mr. Nguyen, the judge said gently, you've just learned you have a 3-year-old son. How are you feeling? David's voice shook. I don't know. I don't even know what to say. That's understandable. David looked at Sarah. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was a coward. I had a right to know. I know. I've missed 3 years. I know. David turned to Marcus. I'm sorry. I didn't know about any of this. If I had, don't. Marcus said, voice cold. Just don't. The judge raised a hand. Gentlemen, I understand emotions are high, but we need to focus on what happens next. She looked at all 3 of them. This child is 3 years old. He knows Mr. Henderson as his father. He doesn't know Mr. Nguyen exists. And Miss Mitchell has been holding this secret for 3 years, hoping it would never come out. She paused. This court will now establish custody and visitation. But I want to be very clear. Ethan's well-being comes first. Not anyone's guilt. Not anyone's anger. The child. Marcus spoke, voice hollow. What happens to me? What do you mean? I've been his father for 3 years. I've loved that boy every single day. And now you're telling me he's not mine. So what happens to me? The judge's voice softened. Mr. Henderson, you raised Ethan. That's real. That matters. And if you choose to remain in his life, this court will recognize that bond. But legally, Mr. Nguyen is the biological father, and he has rights. Rights to a kid he didn't even know existed until today. Yes, Marcus laughed. It was a bitter sound. That's insane. It's biology, the judge said. And the law. David spoke up. I don't want to take him away from you. I just want to know him. Marcus turned to him. You don't get to decide that. You don't get to waltz in here after 3 years and act like we're going to co-parent. You weren't there. You didn't earn this. Neither did you, Sarah said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. What? Marcus said. You didn't earn it either, Sarah said, voice shaking. You earned it by being there, by loving him. But biologically, you were never his father, and I'm the one who lied about that. So don't punish David for something I did. Marcus stared at her. Are you seriously defending him right now? I'm not defending anyone. I'm just saying the truth." "You don't get to talk about truth," Marcus said, voice rising. "You lied for 3 years. You looked me in the eye every day and lied. I know. You let me raise another man's child. You love that child. That's not the point." The judge raised her voice. "Mr. Henderson, I understand your anger, but this is not the place." Marcus stood. "Then where is the place? Where am I supposed to go with this? Therapy, mediation, anywhere but here," shouting. Marcus sat back down. He was shaking now, not from anger, from something deeper. Grief, maybe, or loss. The judge looked at David. "Mr. Nguyen, you're going to be granted visitation rights, supervised at first, then we'll reassess based on how Ethan adjusts." David nodded. "I understand. Miss Mitchell, you'll remain the primary guardian, but both fathers will have roles in Ethan's life moving forward." "Both?" Marcus asked. "Yes, if you choose to stay involved. And if I don't, then you walk away. And Ethan loses the only father he's ever known." Marcus looked at the table. "That's not fair." "No," the judge said. "It's not. But life rarely is." The courtroom was silent. Court is adjourned. People began to file out. David stayed seated for a long time, staring at his hands, wondering what it meant to be a father to a child who'd never heard his name. Sarah gathered her things slowly, avoided eye contact with everyone, and Marcus walked out without looking back, because looking back meant seeing everything he was losing, and he couldn't do that. Not yet. In the weeks that followed, David met Ethan for the first time. The boy was confused, scared, asked for daddy, meaning Marcus. But Marcus wasn't coming to these visits. He'd stepped back, told Sarah he needed time. And Sarah didn't blame him, because how could she? She'd destroyed his world. And for what? To avoid an uncomfortable truth. For years, Lauren Lake has presided over moments families fear and need the most. But some cases don't have good endings, just honest ones. A woman lied to protect herself. A man raised a child who wasn't his. And another man missed 3 years he'll never get back. And somewhere in the middle of all that pain, a 3-year-old boy with Asian features tried to make sense of why his family kept changing. And no DNA test could answer that question.